Hi everyone, welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. I am Bonnie Krebs, creator of Watercolor the Art Impressions Way, and this week's project is Cute Little Cabin by the Water. I think you're going to really like this project. It kind of reminds me of spring, and I've got some really cute pastel colors which I just love on here. So in order to do this project, we're going to need a few things. So in Project Series 8, we're going to use the little cabin right here. Project Series 2, we're going to use the rocks. So this is the rock pond, and it actually comes as one stamp, both sides, but I cut it apart. And I think it's more versatile that way, so I'm just going to use the right-hand side. The clay pot, we're going to use this little dried branch right here. In the covered bridge set, the little tiny circle of leaves. In our foliage set, just one thing out of the foliage set this time, the tiny little grass. And then in the little birdhouse set, we're going to use the tiny little filler flower right here. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to start out by stamping the basic image, and that would be the cabin. And we're going to stamp that in the sepia. So that's the number 45 sepia. And we're going to stamp it pretty light. We're using some pastel colors, so we don't want to just put too much pressure on this stamp and get a huge dark line. We want to keep it pretty light. So stamp it about in the center. And you're just pressing, so you're not actually stamping it really hard. You're just pressing it lightly so that we get a good impression, but not too dark. Okay, so we're going to dip our brush in water now and pinch it off, and then we're going to pull the color out of the lines. This is always the first step. And this over here on the side, this is going to be in the shadow, so we can color that pretty dark. Don't worry about getting this perfect. We're just kind of doing the first step here. And we're going to add some more color to this little cabin later on. So that's about all we have to do right now. So let's go on to the next step, and that's to add the little stones. So you can see that the way that this pond is, it's got a little edge that comes up here, sort of makes a triangle. Well, we're just going to use the flat part of it. So I'm going to use my positioner because I want to make sure that I get it in the right place. No guessing on this one. So I'm just going to use this part right here, and I'm going to ink it in the sepia. So I'm just inking the flat part. And I'm going to just stamp it in the corner like this. And now I can see exactly where I want to put it. And I think about there is pretty good. That looks good. And I'm just going to ink it again. And put that right back in here. And again, not too hard. Don't press on that too hard. I just want to get a good even impression. Okay, so now I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to pull the color out of the lines. Make sure that you leave a highlight on top. You always want to show that when you're doing rocks. Never color them in solid. Just always leave the very top of them open like that. Less is always more. Okay, so let's go on to the next step. And I'm just going to use a little Post-it note here and cover up the areas of my rocks and the little cabin when I go to stamp in the dried branch. Okay, this one right here. And I'm going to use the green this time. So I'm going to ink this all up. This is a number 15 green. I'm just going to cover up this area right here. Don't want that to show, but I'm going to kind of hang this little branch out on the other side of the little cabin. And then let's ink it again. And we're going to do it again on the other side. So we'll cover it up like this. And then we'll just take it over here. Just like so. Okay, so let's go on and add our flowers to it now. We don't need to pull any color out of the lines yet. When it's so far back in the background, it's okay to just wait and pull the color out when you add the flowers to it. So this is the little filler flower. I'm using the 29 now, the Prussian blue, and I'm only inking a couple of these. I don't need this whole big group of flowers. I just want these tiny little ones, and I'm going to still go in a circle. So I'm going to ink it, and I'm just going to kind of walk it around. Get at least 5 impressions, at least 5. And if you can get more than that, that's even better. And you can get this clear up and around this little cabin. I want it to look like it's kind of overgrown. There's just flowers blooming everywhere. It's spring. And it's just full of blooms. Okay, so we've got that all in here. Now we're going to add the water to it. And we're just going to dab. And it's okay if you get that green mixed in with the blue. That's okay. It's going to add a lot of extra color and a lot of extra dimension of color. Just kind of keep dabbing. Just dab at it. Remember, no brush strokes. Just kind of jumping your brush around. Just keep dabbing. Kind of work your way all around. If you get too much color on your brush, just go ahead and clean it off and come back to it again. I want to make sure to leave those white areas in there too. Try not to color everything in solid. I want to be able to see those white areas. Okay, looks pretty good. Got our little blooms in here. So now let's go on and do another detail. So we're going to take a pencil, just a plain old pencil, and we're going to make a few little lines here. So don't stress out about this. This is super easy. We're going to make about 5 little lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like that. And if you're not happy with where they are, just erase them and do it again. They don't have to be even. It's always better that they're not perfectly even. And we're going to take a little bit of color now from our palette, a little bit of sepia, and we're just going to add a little of this color here. And dip your brush in water now, and just take a little of this color, just very lightly, and put a little line right at the top of your brush, or your pencil line. Just one little line, just like that. Don't overthink it. Just put a little color in there, just like that. Okay, so now let's go on to the next step, and that is to add the little grasses. So we're going to take our number 15 green, and we're going to start over here underneath this little tree that we just made, and we're going to walk this grass all the way over. Just kind of walk it down the little stairs that we just made. Can fill in a little of this grass over here. Make sure you're stamping it a bunch of times. You can always go back in and put a little more. But make sure you're stamping it a bunch of times. So ink once and stamp a bunch. And then when you add the water to it, you want to pull that color up and out. Just pull it up. Get all of that color pulled out of there. So fun. You can pull some of this color over now to the other side of the hill here. And let's brush in our water. So we're going to use the number 29, the Prussian blue, and we're going to mix that with the number 86. And that's that African violet, and we're going to kind of mix these two colors together. That's the nice thing about a palette, is you can do that. And we're going to just make some straight lines. So straight lines start in the back. Just bring that color over. Don't touch the rocks or the grass that we just stamped, and bring that color all the way around. Just, it'll get lighter and lighter as you bring it around. And just pull it over. Okay, looks pretty good. So let's add some flowers now to that. And we're going to do that with a tiny little heart. So these are that little, they look like little hearts. And the reason I say that is to make sure that you put them on the block right side up. And when they're right side up, they look like little hearts. Okay, so put them on here. And we're going to ink it with a really bright pink. This is actually called Iris Purple. It's a number 55, but it's really a bright, bright pink. And we're just going to jump this around about 5 or 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You just keep counting and just get this color in here. So cute. Dip your brush in water and you're just touching all these little areas. Just touch them. You don't want to lose the integrity of the stamps. We still want to see the shape, but we want to kind of blend it together so it gets really soft. Don't be afraid to go out of the lines. You can drag that color clear over. Okay, so let's go on now and add some color to the little cabin. You can do this first or you can do it later, doesn't matter. I like to kind of mix it up a little bit. Sometimes I do it first and sometimes I do it later, but that's just up to you. So we're going to take a little of this Prussian blue now and go light, so very lightly. We're going to take a little of this color and we're just going to brush it onto the front. It's better to start with less because you can gradually add more color. You don't want it to be too even because when you're, looking at a structure, always think about these little cabins and stuff that they're kind of, old and rustic. The paint's kind of peeling. You're going to see shadows, when it's in the foliage. So it's not going to be the same color. This again here on the side, see how that's in the shadow? That's going to be way darker. So don't be afraid to really get that color in here and make that really dark. The same goes for under the eaves here. This will be really dark under the eaves. And let's add a little interest here to the windows. I always think this is worth it to do this. Just takes an extra minute or so, but it just adds a lot to put these little window panes in. Don't worry about these things being perfect either. Better that they're not all the same. Let's brush in a little more color. Can't forget about this little window over here. And these are going to be way narrower, so just a little tiny bit back in here. Okay, let's add some color now to the door. This is the sepia on the palette. And we're just going to brush this in, just lightly. You can always go back in and add more later. It's better to start light. And I would take that fine tip and really darken this little, door handle. You can put in some detail here too into the little door. Make that really rusted. You can put a little shadow under the little shutters here. And how about some sky? Let's mix these two colors together and let's just brush in some sky up here. Just the idea of it. Doesn't have to be perfect. And let's go just a little bit darker back here where the water is. And we are about finished with our little cabin. Make sure that you date and sign. And give that away to someone. They are going to love it. You're going to make their day and they won't believe that you made this for them. Thanks so much for watching and I will see you next week.